The conversation Donna Kelce had with Travis about Taylor crying would reveal a secret that Taylor had never shared with Travis himself, leading to a confrontation that would change how Travis understood both his mother and his girlfriend forever. February 14th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. Travis Kelce sat at his mother's kitchen table in Kansas City, absently stirring the coffee that Donna had insisted on making him, despite his protests that he couldn't stay long. The familiar warmth of the house where he'd grown up felt comforting after a brutal week of practice and media obligations. But he could sense that his mother had something on her mind. The kitchen hadn't changed much since Travis's childhood. The same yellow curtains hung over the sink where Donna had washed countless football uniforms over the years. Family photos covered the refrigerator, recent pictures of grandchildren mixed with old shots of Travis and Jason in their youth league gear. The wooden table they sat at had witnessed thousands of family meals, homework sessions, and heart-to-heart conversations just like this one. Donna Kelce moved around her kitchen with the efficient grace of a woman who'd spent decades feeding a family of football players. She was arranging leftover Valentine's Day cookies on a plate, but Travis could see the tension in her shoulders that meant she was working up to saying something important. After 35 years of reading his mother's moods, Travis knew when she had something weighing on her mind. "So," Donna said, finally settling into the chair across from him, "how are things with Taylor?" "Good," Travis replied automatically. "Really good. She's finishing up some recording sessions, and I think the album is going to be incredible." It was the same response he'd been giving everyone who asked about Taylor lately. Safe, positive, deflecting attention away from any potential problems or complications. "I'm sure it will be," Donna said, studying her son's face with the intensity that only mothers possess. "But that's not what I meant." Travis looked up from his coffee, confused by the shift in his mother's tone. "What do you mean?" Donna was quiet for a moment, clearly choosing her words carefully. She picked up one of the Valentine's cookies, then set it back down without taking a bite. "Travis, when's the last time you really looked at Taylor? I mean, really looked at her?" "Mom, what kind of question is that? I look at her every day." "Do you? Because the last 3 times I've seen her, she's had that look in her eyes." "What look?" "The look of someone who's been crying when she thinks no one will notice." Travis set down his coffee cup, feeling a flutter of anxiety in his chest. The suggestion that Taylor had been crying without him knowing about it was both concerning and confusing. They lived together, spent most of their free time together, talked every day about their schedules and plans. "Taylor's been crying? When? Why didn't she tell me?" "That's exactly what I want to know," Donna said, her voice becoming sharper in a way that Travis hadn't heard since he was a teenager, getting lectured about grades or curfew. "Because either you haven't been paying attention, or you've been the reason she's crying." Travis felt his defenses go up immediately. The implication that he might be hurting Taylor, especially hurting her enough to make her cry, was both offensive and frightening. "Mom, that's not fair. Taylor and I are fine. If she was upset about something, she'd talk to me about it. We have great communication." "Would she?" Donna asked, raising an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that?" "Of course I'm sure. We tell each other everything." Travis believed this completely. He and Taylor had built their relationship on honest communication from the beginning. They talked through disagreements, shared their feelings openly, and had created what Travis thought was a safe space for vulnerability and truth. Donna looked at her son with an expression he'd never seen before, disappointment mixed with something that looked almost like anger. It was the look of a mother who was deeply concerned about her child's welfare, but in this case, the child she was worried about wasn't Travis. "Travis Michael Kelce," she said, using his full name in a way that made him feel like he was 12 years old again. "If you make that girl cry one more time, you're going to have to deal with me. Do you understand?" Travis stared at his mother, stunned. In his 35 years of life, Donna had never spoken to him about his romantic relationships with anything approaching this level of intensity. She'd always been supportive but hands-off, trusting him to handle his own affairs and only offering advice when directly asked. "Mom, what the hell is going on? Why are you talking to me like I'm some kind of abusive boyfriend?" "Because I'm worried that you don't understand what you have," Donna said, her voice rising slightly. "And I'm worried that you're going to lose the best thing that's ever happened to you because you're taking it for granted." "I'm not taking anything for granted." "Really? Then explain to me why Taylor spent 2 hours crying in my living room last week." Travis felt like he'd been hit by a truck. Last week, Tuesday afternoon. He'd been at practice, then film sessions, then dinner with some teammates. Taylor had said she was going shopping, maybe stopping by his mom's house to drop off some cookies she'd made. She'd seemed fine when he got home that night, tired, but fine. "She what?" "She came to see me on Tuesday afternoon, said she needed to talk to someone who would understand what it's like to love a football player. And Travis, what she told me broke my heart." The kitchen fell silent except for the sound of the refrigerator humming and the distant noise of traffic outside. Travis felt a growing sense of dread as he realized that Taylor had been struggling with something serious, enough to seek out his mother's advice instead of talking to him directly. "What did she say?" Travis asked quietly. Donna studied her son's face for a moment, clearly debating how much to share. Travis could see her weighing Taylor's privacy against her concern for both of them. "She told me about her ex-boyfriends," Donna said finally. "About the ones who left when her career got too demanding, when the media attention got too intense, when loving her became inconvenient." Travis felt his stomach drop. Taylor had mentioned her past relationships in general terms, describing them as complicated or not right, but she'd never gone into detail about how they'd ended or how those experiences had affected her current fears about relationships. "She told me about the one who cheated on her because he said she was never around," Donna continued, her voice getting softer as she saw the impact of her words on Travis. "About the one who broke up with her through a publicist because he didn't want to deal with the paparazzi anymore. About the one who told her she'd have to choose between him and her music." "Mom, why is she telling you this stuff instead of telling me?" "Because she's scared," Donna said simply. "She's scared that if she shows you how insecure she really is, how terrified she is of being abandoned again, you'll decide she's too much work." Travis felt like the ground was shifting beneath him. The idea that Taylor was carrying this level of fear and insecurity while appearing perfectly confident and secure in their relationship was disorienting. "That's ridiculous. I would never—" "Travis, listen to me," Donna interrupted, leaning forward with the intensity of someone who needed to be heard. "That girl loves you so much that it terrifies her. She told me that you're the first man she's ever loved who makes her want to be vulnerable instead of making her want to build walls." "Then why hasn't she told me any of this?" "Because every time she starts to open up about her insecurities, you do that thing you do." "What thing?" "You try to fix it. You try to logic her out of her feelings instead of just listening to them. You tell her she doesn't need to worry instead of asking her why she's worried." Travis opened his mouth to argue, then closed it as he realized his mother might be right. How many times had Taylor started to express a fear or concern about their relationship, their future, or her career pressures, only to have him immediately jump into problem-solving mode instead of just being present with her emotions? He thought about a conversation they'd had just last week when Taylor had mentioned feeling overwhelmed by the constant speculation about their engagement timeline. Instead of asking her to tell him more about how that pressure felt, he'd immediately launched into reassurances about how the media didn't matter, and they didn't need to worry about other people's expectations. "She told me something else," Donna said, quietly. "Something I think you need to hear." Travis braced himself, unsure if he could handle any more revelations about Taylor's hidden emotional state. "She said that sometimes she lies awake at night, wondering when you're going to get tired of her, when you're going to decide that dating Taylor Swift is more trouble than dating Taylor, the person is worth." "That's insane," Travis said, but even as he said it, He was thinking about the past few weeks. Had he been treating Taylor differently? Had he been taking her for granted? There had been moments recently when he'd felt overwhelmed by certain aspects of their very public relationship, the constant scrutiny, the way his every gesture was analyzed and discussed online, the pressure to always be on when they were together in public. "Is it insane?" Donna asked. "Because according to her, you've been distracted lately, less present when you're together, more focused on your phone, more irritated when she talks about work stress." Travis felt a sinking realization as he remembered several recent conversations where he'd been less than fully engaged. Moments where he'd scrolled through his phone while Taylor talked about upcoming tour logistics. Times when he'd given short responses when she'd wanted to discuss her anxiety about album reviews. Instances when he'd brushed off her concerns about media criticism because he'd been thinking about his own career stress. "Travis," Donna said, leaning forward, "do you know what Taylor told me about why she loves you?" Travis shook his head, afraid of what he might hear. "She said you were the first man who ever loved her for being Taylor Swift, instead of in spite of being Taylor Swift. She said you made her feel like her success was something to be celebrated, instead of something to be managed or hidden." "I do feel that way," Travis said. "I'm proud of everything she's accomplished. I love watching her perform. I love seeing how happy her music makes people. I love that she's changing the world." "Then why does she think you're pulling away from her?" Travis sat in silence for a moment, trying to process everything his mother was telling him. The truth was, he had been feeling overwhelmed lately by certain aspects of dating someone as famous as Taylor. Not by Taylor herself, but by the constant scrutiny, the way every gesture was analyzed, the pressure to be perfect in every public interaction, the way his own career sometimes felt secondary to their relationship story. But he'd never considered that his way of coping with that pressure, by being slightly more distant, more guarded, less emotionally available, might be triggering Taylor's deepest fears about relationships and abandonment. "Mom, I've never made her cry on purpose. If I've been hurting her, it wasn't intentional." "I know that, sweetie. But intentional or not, you've been hurting her, and that girl has been hurt enough." Donna reached across the table and took her son's hand, in both of hers. "Travis, I need you to understand something. I've watched you date a lot of women over the years, and I've never gotten involved because I trusted you to figure out your own life. But Taylor is different." "How is she different?" "Because she's already family," Donna said simply. "Not because you're dating her, but because of who she is as a person. That girl has spent the last year and a half caring for this family in ways that go so far beyond just being your girlfriend." Travis looked at his mother, confused by what she meant. "She remembers everyone's birthdays," Donna continued. "She sends handwritten notes when people are sick. She showed up at the hospital when your uncle was having surgery, even though you were out of town and couldn't be there. She spent her own money having care packages sent to Jason and Kylie when Kylie was struggling with postpartum depression." Travis hadn't known about most of these gestures. He knew Taylor cared about his family, but he hadn't realized the extent to which she'd been quietly building individual relationships with each of them. "She calls me every week just to check in," Donna said. "Not to talk about you, but to talk about my life, my health, my feelings. She asks about my book club, my garden, my friends. She treats me like her mother, Travis, and I've started thinking of her like my daughter." "I didn't know she was doing all of that." "That's exactly my point. You've been so focused on your relationship with Taylor that you haven't been paying attention to Taylor's relationships with the rest of us, and those relationships matter to her more than you know." Donna paused, seeming to gather herself for what she wanted to say next. "Travis, that girl told me something that I think explains a lot about why she's been struggling lately." "What?" "She said that she's never had a mother figure who unconditionally supported her career and her choices. Her own mother tries, but there's always been this underlying message that Taylor should tone it down, be less ambitious, make herself smaller to make other people more comfortable." Travis felt his heart break a little as he realized what his mother was getting at. She said that being part of our family is the first time she's ever felt like she could be completely herself without apologizing for it. She said that I make her feel like it's okay to be successful and ambitious and still deserving of love. Mom, that's beautiful. I'm glad you two have that relationship. But don't you see, Travis? If she loses you, she doesn't just lose her boyfriend. She loses the whole family. She loses the first place she's ever felt unconditionally accepted. The weight of what Donna was saying hit Travis like a physical blow. Taylor's fears weren't just about losing him. They were about losing the entire support system she'd built with his family, the sense of belonging she'd found for the first time in her adult life. So when you pull away from her, when you're less present or less engaged, she doesn't just think Travis is having a bad day. She thinks, this is the beginning of the end and I'm going to lose everyone I care about. Travis put his head in his hands, overwhelmed by the realization of how his recent behavior must have been affecting Taylor. Every moment of distraction, every time he'd been less than fully present, every instance of taking their relationship for granted had been feeding into her deepest fears about being too much trouble to love. Mom, I've been such an idiot. You haven't been an idiot, Donna said gently. You've been human. But Travis, you're not dating just anyone. You're dating someone whose heart has been broken in very specific ways, and you need to be aware of that. What do I do? How do I fix this? You start by having a real conversation with her. You tell her what you've been feeling instead of expecting her to guess. You ask her what she's been feeling instead of assuming she's fine. Donna stood up and moved to the kitchen counter, returning with a small wrapped box that she'd apparently prepared for this conversation. And you give her this, she said, handing Travis the box. What is it? Open it. Travis unwrapped the box to find a delicate silver bracelet with a small charm in the shape of a house. I had it made for her, Donna explained. The charm is engraved with our family motto, home is where the heart is safe. Travis felt tears forming in his eyes as he understood the significance of the gift. I want her to know that no matter what happens with you two, though I hope nothing bad ever happens, she will always have a place in this family. She will always be my daughter. Mom, I love you so much right now. And I love you. But more than that, I love her. And I need you to love her better. Travis spent another hour with his mother, talking through specific ways he could be more present and attentive in his relationship with Taylor. Donna shared more details about her conversations with Taylor, helping Travis understand the depth of insecurity and fear that Taylor had been carrying while appearing perfectly confident on the surface. By the time Travis left his mother's house, he had a completely new understanding of his girlfriend's emotional landscape and his own responsibility in navigating it carefully. That evening, when Travis found Taylor in their home studio working on lyrics, he didn't just ask how her day was going. He pulled up a chair next to her, put away his phone, and asked her to tell him about what was weighing on her heart. And for the first time in weeks, Taylor looked up from her work and really saw him, present, engaged, and ready to listen. I talked to your mom today, Travis said. Oh? Taylor's expression became carefully neutral, which told Travis everything he needed to know about how much she'd shared with Donna. She told me you've been sad, and she told me it might be because of me. Taylor was quiet for a moment, then closed her notebook and set down her pen. Travis, I don't want you to feel like you have to walk on eggshells around me. I don't want to walk on eggshells either, Travis said. But I do want to understand when you're hurting, especially if I'm the one causing it. What followed was the most honest conversation they'd had in months. Taylor told Travis about her fears, her insecurities, her terror that he was getting tired of the complications that came with loving her. Travis told Taylor about his own struggles with the pressures of their public relationship and how he'd been handling them poorly by becoming emotionally distant. And most importantly, they both committed to communicating better instead of making assumptions about what the other person was thinking or feeling. 3 weeks later, when Travis gave Taylor the bracelet from his mother during a quiet dinner at home, Taylor cried for the first time in front of him in months, but this time they were tears of gratitude and relief, not fear and loneliness. "Your mom told me this means I'm always family," Taylor said, fastening the bracelet around her wrist. "You were always family," Travis replied. "We just needed to make sure you knew it." What do you think about this powerful story of family intervention and emotional awareness? Have you ever had a parent or family member help you understand something important about your relationship? Sometimes the people who love us most can see things we're blind to. If this story resonated with you and reminded you of the importance of really listening to your partner's fears and insecurities, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the real work that goes into celebrity relationships. Because sometimes the most important conversations happen when someone who loves you both is brave enough to tell you the truth.